Today we're exploring how to build a podcast. On this episode, I chat with fellow Arbitrum podcasters Wes and Cieri from the Crypto Remora and El Chapo from Crypto Chat with Chapo. We talk about why these guys started a podcast in the first place, how they did it, and how they've benefited from doing so. We also discuss tools, tips, and best practices for creating content you can be proud of. One best practice for interviews that I can share right now: make sure you know how to pronounce your guest names before you hit record. I refer to El Chapo as Capo or El Capo for like half of this interview. That's probably going to make you think of a very different character in the world of crypto. So my bad, El Chapo. With that out of the way, here we go. Welcome to Ready Layer 2 with me, Get.Small. This is a podcast for the founders, innovators, and experimenters building the future of Web3 on Arbitrum. Hey everybody, welcome to Ready Layer 2. Today is the podcast about podcasting. I am sitting here with a bunch of well-known Arbitrum fellows who have started podcasts, and we're going to be sharing with you all about our experience in doing so, why we do these things, what we've learned along the way, and share some tools and things like that. So if this is something you're interested in, that is starting your own podcast, this show is for you. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome my esteemed panel of guests to the show here today. We're going to start with Capo. El Capo, welcome to the show.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I've been in crypto for a little while, it's almost 3 years now, hard to believe, but technically longer. I started a podcast called Crypto Chat with Chapo that I started almost exactly a year ago. So
nice. 1 year in. So you're going to have lots of good stories to share.
I do.
Awesome. And also welcome to the show, my good friends, Wes and Cieri from the Crypto Remora. Two of the earliest guys that I hooked up with here on RB Twitter. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us, dude.
Yeah,
thank you
glad
for
to
hosting
be here.
us, dude.
Yeah, right on. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to share what everyone's learned. And again, your show, obviously, the Crypto Remora. You guys are on YouTube. Well, how long have you been running for now?
We're on like episode 34, like maybe 8 months now, dude. We've been putting out that content. So
Okay.
yeah, not long at all.
Very good, man. 8 months in. That's a good clip, too. You guys are going to have some war stories for sure. So awesome. Excited to dive into this. So, Capo, I'm going to kick back to you. Why did you start a podcast in the first place?
Yeah, when I started the podcast, like I said, it was a year ago almost exactly, because I think today I recorded episode number 362 of my show. I've always liked podcasts. I've always thought they were interesting. I loved listening to them when I work out or when I drive. And I actually came across the TikTok where I don't even remember the person's name. They simply said that they had started a podcast. They were going to do one every day for a year. And at the end of the year, they were going to see what happened. And I thought, that is a really cool idea. What could I do a podcast on? One thing I know are reasonable about was crypto. The other one is wrestling, and I didn't think I could do a wrestling podcast very well. So I figured, why not? Let's go ahead and give it a whirl. And I just dove right in. I think I saw the TikTok maybe on a Friday, and then 2 days later, I recorded my first episode.
That's a good
shot
turn,
at
man.
it. I had no idea what I was doing. I just dove right
Awesome.
in.
2 follow-up questions. One is, you said 362 episodes. You said every single day. I've been creating content for a long time. That is damn impressive, sir, that you've done it every single day. So first of all, congratulations.
Yes.
I'm in awe of that alone. But so like, one, what did you do, right? Like you had no idea what you were doing, and 2 days later you're recording. How did you figure out how to even get started?
Man, honestly, it was just the way my brain works. Is the only way I can really describe it is I can put my sights on something and then I just figure out how to do it. And I'm pretty skilled with computers. I've always found them very interesting. I don't have any coding. I've never really taken any computer classes except in high school a long time ago. But I just can feel my way around technology and recording things. There are a few exceptions, of course. And I just started Googling it, like how to do a podcast, what software to use. The first thing I used was Adobe. They have, I think it's called Audition, Adobe Audition. And I have access to that. And I simply figured out how to do it. I spent a half a day just recording and clicking and messing around with intros and hopped right in. I don't know any other way than to put my hands on something and figure it out. And that's just
Got it.
the way I've always done things in life.
So what was your actual reason for doing this? You saw this TikTok, do a podcast every day, and you said, I want to do that. You didn't even have your topic yet. You wanted to do the podcast every day. Why?
My motivation simply was completely for me. After I saw the video and decided that I was going to do that, I simply said, I'm going to do this for me. I'm not going to worry about marketing. I'm not going to worry about if anybody even ever listens to it. I find this topic interesting and I want to talk about it. And after a couple episodes, I really started to think about, like, how can I help other people? And then it became, I want to share things that I'm finding and people starting out in crypto. It's hard to start in crypto. You know nothing, and there are really not very many helpful people when you first come in. If you come in during a bull run or things are crazy, people only care about themselves. And I thought I can offer something to somebody. If somebody finds it and finds it interesting, then I'm going to be happy. And that's why I did it. That's really the only reason, for myself and maybe help someone else.
Awesome. No, I mean, just doing something as a learning exercise and an experience is as good a reason as any, as far as I'm concerned. So that's a cool story. And again, man, do it every day. I'm so damn impressed.
It's not always easy.
So no doubt. So I'm going to kick down to you guys. Start with you, Cieri. I don't know, you guys might have the same answer here because you're the same show, but I'm going to look to you first. And what was the reason why you wanted to head down this path?
Well, I gotta give credit where credit's due, man. I was fighting Wes on it because of the hard work that El Chapo was doing. I was like, wait, whoa, every day. Because I mean, Wes was like, we should do a podcast, because I went to his house and banged on his door. If you watch the show, you probably heard it a million times, but for people who haven't heard it yet, I got into crypto in 2019, the very, very end of 2019, but I was studying stocks for like 6 or 8 months before that every day. So I was hardcore. I had it in my mind I was going to be an options day trader. That was my goal in 2019.
Okay.
When 2020 rolled around, like January, I was already like, wait a minute, what is this Bitcoin thing? Like, because it was up on my Robinhood, and I was looking at options and stocks and all this stuff. And I had already bought stocks. I was already holding stocks. And I said, well, wait a minute, what's this Bitcoin? You can actually buy Bitcoin now? Like, because back in the day when it was on Mount Gox or whatever, I wanted Bitcoin back then. But I wasn't tech savvy enough to get it or figure out how to do it.
Right.
I wouldn't have had the money to do it.
There's a lot of friction there.
Yeah. So it was just like, when it came up on Robinhood, I said, okay, I'm getting in. And I bought a little bit just to do it, but I didn't buy Bitcoin first. I bought Litecoin first because I, like anyone else, I'm like, oh, look at this. This is cheap. And then I started studying a little more and I started diving into what Ethereum was. And once I saw what Ethereum was and what it did, I was just like, man, I sold everything. I sold all my stocks, went all in on Ethereum. I had about 6 Ethereum in 2020, and the average buy price for me was about $75 per Ethereum.
Very nice.
And it was a nice move because I wasn't making good money at the time. I was making horrible money. If I would have been able to put some real money into it, gentlemen, we would be in Vegas filming right now. So, I knew what to buy and when to buy it, but I didn't have that much capital to put into it.
Right,
so
we'll work on that Vegas thing in the next
we're
couple
working
years,
on it.
so.
We're working on it. But
Sure.
Wes was the one. I went to his house and just said, come on, man, you're doing this. Give me your phone. And he's like, wait, what? What are you doing? I'm downloading Robinhood. I'm like, shut up.
You're forcing him to buy crypto.
It's like, here.
This.
He's like, it's like 2 weeks before Christmas. He's like, my kid, man, Christmas presents. I said, you'll be able to buy him twice the Christmas presents. Just do it, And he didn't really know what I was talking about, but just because I guess my enthusiasm, he decided to get in. But he was the one that brought up the podcast first. Wes was like, man, we should do a podcast. We should do it. And I was like, nah, man, that's too much work. You don't want to do it. You commit every day. you
So
think
you
you
have
want
a
to
bit
do
of a
it.
background in producing or something, music, right?
I'm a musician,
yeah, so you know a little bit at least about
video,
what was going to have to happen here, right?
booking, when you're a musician doing your own band and booking other bands. I booked other bands. I've done shows. My band played at the House of Blues. We played
Nice.
Suck Bang Blow, Bike Week. We've done some pretty cool festivals and stuff. So we've had some success, and we're not done yet. I still have my band, but we kind of cut back on the shows because it's original stuff. But as far as the production side of it, when Wes was wanting to do the podcast, I told him, this is what I said to him. I said, if you can show me the commitment every week, one night a week, you call me up for 1 hour and we can just talk on the phone about crypto. That'll show me that you're committed, you're serious. I'll put the work on the production.
I like this.
It was, and I made him stick to it for a year or two, and then after that, I said, "All right, man, you held up.
A whole
in."
year.
Yeah.
I said,
Weekly,
"I'm going to
1
produce
hour.
the
a
reverse.
show." Yeah,
The roles reversed. I was the one calling him eventually, like, dude, let's do it,
Yeah.
man. Let's
It's
do
time.
let's do the
let's
show.
talk. I love this.
that's my side of the story of how
Okay.
the crypto Remora
I want to hear
really
Wes's
became.
side about
Yeah.
how you stole his phone and started buying crypto with his money the day before Christmas too.
That's it, man.
Was there any violence involved here? How'd this go?
No,
Almost.
no violence, man. No violence. The idea of the crypto Remora, the original idea of this was to kind of do like a blue collar crypto thing, right? Like Cieri and I have a lot of the same background. We didn't have a lot of money, both raised with single parents, had to work for everything that we have. And when we first met, dude, we were like both stuck in this 9 to 5 paycheck to paycheck kind of thing. And I think the channel is an expression of our passion of, wanting to help and teach people that there is a better way to do money, and that there is a better way to get out of that grind, of making someone else money. You know what I mean? And when you kind of grow up like that, man, these things tend to hit a little different, man. And we just really want to help people out. The concept of it is, the blue collar crypto. We knew we couldn't call it blue collar crypto, man. Like that's just, we needed something unique, something that stood out. And funny story, man, is I was at work. Like we were already talking about this podcast and the blue collar thing. And we're like, what can we name it? Like, what's a cool name, And I'm at work, dude, and it's the middle of summer. I'm sweating my what off, and I get a phone call from Cieri. He calls me like 10 times back to back, right? And I'm like, what the hell does he want, dude? So I call him back, right? And all he does, he just yells, Remora, dude, Remora. And I'm like, and he hangs up on me. But the thing about Cieri, dude, is he knows how I operate. He knows how my mind works. And I think looking back on it now, he hung up on me because he knew I was busy and he knew I couldn't call back right away. And he knew for the next hour or two, I was probably sitting there thinking, with that in my head, like, Remora, what the hell is Remora? And so, of course, I sneak to the bathroom.
Subliminal on you.
I sneak up to the bathroom, Google Remora, and I just see a picture of this ugly little fish, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this dude, man? And then I read about what it is, man, and that's when I saw that it's this, small fish that kind of latches on to the whales and the sharks and the dolphins and kind of swims with the whales. And I just put it all together and I was like, that's it, man. So I think that was a cool story, man, of kind of how we got started. But
yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
Very
man.
Cool. So kind of backing up a year before, Cieri put you up to the test of the weekly discussions. You wanted to start the podcast already. Why did you want to do it a year earlier when you just got into crypto? What was making you think that was a good idea?
So I think, I'm not sure where I heard it from. I've heard the saying that if there's something that you're super passionate about and there's something that you can't stop talking about, and everywhere you go, you're just talking to everybody about it, maybe put that in a blog or a vlog or a YouTube channel or a podcast. So that's what we did, man. Before we started doing the every week things, like that's everywhere we went. Cieri was the first one that I saw. I remember going out to eat or grocery store or, to the gas station, and everywhere we went, Cieri is, talking to anybody and their grandmas about crypto. And, and in my head, I'm like, dude, like Cieri, shut up, dude. People don't know about this, and, as soon as my $20 turned into $200, it was both of us. Like we were, like two Mormons walking door to door. trying to preach the word of Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So, I think that right there, that energy tied up into that was definitely a for sure sign to start a podcast.
Got it. So you guys, you just needed an outlet
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
to exercise and stuff, and that's absolutely a fantastic reason to start a podcast. That's awesome. So Chapo, back to you. Let's just talk a bit about, so like when you started recording, first you probably, because you dove into it so fast, I'm guessing you probably didn't have like a blueprint for this is what I'm trying to accomplish and this is how I'm going to do it. I think you said a few days into it, you started thinking I could help some people out. So just walk us through your creation process, especially knowing that you got to do it every single day.
Yeah.
How do you come up with the ideas for your shows?
Yeah, you guys can probably relate to this. And once crypto has a hold of you, not vice versa, it's almost all that I think about in a way. I think about it a lot. It's not the only thing I think about, but it is on my mind a lot. I'm on Twitter, X now, I guess. I was on Twitter, and it's just something that I would just research, and this looks interesting. And every once in a while I would tell a story of my experiences. But I think all of my shows, because they're every day, it is a lot of times me finding a project that I think is interesting. Maybe I own it, maybe I don't, maybe I'm thinking about it, maybe I'm not. And just giving a quick overview of what that is, where you can buy it, why I think it might be interesting. And that's really my creative process. And I do this, I run 5 miles every day. So when I'm on the treadmill, my mind is usually multitasking and coming up with ideas. That's really my creative process because it has to be, the turnaround's so fast. Once I hit this 365 days, which is coming up, I probably will transition to not doing it every day, because if you do it every day, the quality of some of the shows really do suffer in that I can't really pick apart protocols in such a short turnaround. So it's really just an overview. That I think that's where I'm going next. But as I came across this saying recently, and I really like it, step somewhere and the path will reveal itself. And so that's why I'm playing it. Something will reveal itself to me. And the way I operate is then all of my attention goes to it, and I accomplish the goal, or I set out whatever I say I'm going to do, I typically do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, to set out again, to do 365 and to nail it. And now you get to give yourself permission to pivot and try it a different way. You just move on to the next experiment, basically. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think the important part of that is, and the Remora show is great because it is way more polished than mine. It's not an everyday thing. And could you guys imagine trying to do your show every single day?
I told Wes, I told him, I said, man, that was the first thing I said, because I said, it's so much more commitment than you think because of just the editing, like just the video edit, the audio video, like having a setup in your house. Okay. It's not that big a deal. If you have an extra room in your house that no one ever goes in, no one's going to mess with it. You have a little corner, I don't want to be discouraging to people and say, don't start a podcast, because it's not that hard. Okay. But what's hard, it's not, the laptop, the phone in the corner, and a little light. That's the easy part. The hard part is learning the equipment, learning how to use the equipment, making sure the equipment does work, even though you know how to use it, because there's always a ghost in the machine, right? So kudos to you for doing that. I could not imagine if me and Wes had to do Crypto Remora every single day, the amount of stress and strain that takes. And that's all the influencers we watch. They do it every day. And I'm in awe of them, because I'm like, man, once a week, I love once a week. It's very relaxed. And I'm glad we did that, because we didn't take on more than we could chew. So, but hats off to you, man. Seriously, for doing it every day for a year, dude. Seriously, that's grinding, dude. Seriously.
Honestly, I don't see it that way. I enjoy it, and it's something I do. It's, for me, honestly, it's going to sound weird. It's no different for me than the 5 miles I do every day. I'm just going to do it. Nothing is going to get in my way.
There's the power of habit right there too.
Yes, sir.
Like once you get in a rhythm and a groove and like you're doing a thing, before you're doing it every day, it sounds like a lot of work, but then once you're doing it every day, it's like non-negotiable, right? Like,
Yeah,
like you couldn't imagine not doing it once
there's
you're in
not an
those
option
patterns
for me.
sometimes.
There wasn't an
Yeah.
option. Oh, there was.
No, to do it like that, there can't be, right?
Right.
To hit 365, you have to be 100% all in.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there was times where, you know, you say it's like it hasn't been that big of a deal for you, but I'm sure there were days where you were like, God damn it, I really don't want to do this right now.
Honestly, it was,
And you had to go do it.
honestly, you may not believe this, but it's never been, I don't want to do it. There are things that get in the way. Like, for example, I had knee surgery and I wasn't going to miss, but finding the time to do it was the tricky part.
Yeah.
My mom passed away in this process, and I think maybe on the day of her funeral, I think I reposted one episode, but through all that, my mom had dementia and I had to go, I'm the only one around, so I would go see her frequently, plus with having 7 kids and being in sports, that is the biggest challenge for me.
I didn't know you had 7, man.
Jesus.
I know you're a big
I
family man.
discovered
I didn't
that
know
in
you had 7.
preamble. I
Yeah.
had the same reaction.
Yeah, that's how I stay looking so young and fit. you know,
That's it.
That's
kicking
it,
all
man,
those kids
that's it.
around.
7 is a lot to
Yeah.
deal with, no doubt.
Yeah, I understand though, man. Like, cause it's one of those things, man. Like, once you get started and you commit to it, and you want to hold yourself accountable, man. Like, if we are a day short from posting that video every week, we hold ourselves accountable, and we feel bad, man. Like, it's something that we want to do, and if we do miss a day or a week or something, it's it doesn't feel good, man, because you feel like you've let not only your viewers down and the people that pay attention to you, man. Like, you feel like you've let yourself down too, man. Once you commit to it, it's kind of one of those things that you have to follow through with. If not, you're definitely not going to make it. And you got to stay committed. You got to stay consistent. And I know what you mean by, doing it every single day and compared to like doing it once a week. Because if you do it every single day, like you're taking into account like the content. Like, maybe the content isn't so good, but you're doing it every single day as opposed to doing it once every 3 days. You get a little bit more time to kind of come up with better content, take your time with it or whatever. So I know exactly what you mean by that. And that's definitely a challenge, man, is finding that content and staying up to date and on top of the different market trends and whatever else is going on. You know what I mean? So definitely feel you on that.
So let's jump to that for Crypto Remoras. How do you guys come up with your content each week, right? Do you have a plan for the next couple of weeks of what you're trying to accomplish? Are you just based on what's happening in the market? Like, how's that work for you guys?
I was just talking to you. We were talking a little bit before the stream here, and you said you kind of pre-record and then release. It's like very structured, very planned. In the beginning, me and Wes did try to do that. We did try to have the show we were doing for the week, right? But we would be discussing next week's show, right? So we tried doing that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But then we wanted to start doing interviews and having people on. It's like, we wanted to have El Chapo on our show. We wanted to get with you. It's like, so we kind of said, okay, gives us a break from just Remora content for a minute. Let's go on someone else's podcast. That's awesome. Let's bring them on. Let's have an interview session. That's cool. So that was kind of a break, and it was easier on the video editing and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, I think at this point now, me and Wes have gotten to the point where we can kind of free throw a little better. In the beginning, we were both very nervous about what we were going to do, like a little camera shy. We were a little bit like, we were worried about the physical, doxing aspect of it and being in front of the camera and, kind of shell shocked and all that stuff. So we were more focused on that, and that translated into, let's just worry about the content of what we're talking about, because we were trying to get the physical stuff down. Now we're at the point where I said we would be, and this was part of my vision in the beginning. I told Wes, I said, dude, and it's the same thing you told him too. You coached Wes along, and through Wes, I've learned stuff that he taught you that Wes comes at me with, and it's like, okay, that's right. Hit publish. You just got to hit publish. Just record.
Yeah.
Just keep grinding. Keep going. And we've done that to the point where now Wes is not nervous Nelly 5 minutes before the show, like a chicken with his head cut off. Now when it's time to record, Wes isn't. He's over that now. But in the beginning, it was a hurdle that was holding
Very
us a
much
little
so.
bit back, because it was like
Very much so.
30 or 40 minutes before we could record. We were sitting there, trying to make sure the confidence was there before we hit the red button. And I'm not knocking Wes or making fun of him, because if
It's
it weren't
true,
for the
though.
music thing, if it weren't for me doing music for 15, 20 years and being on stage in front of people and playing, and, I was nervous too, like in front of the microphone.
Yeah, no,
But I
the
think
mic's
that-
intimidating, the cameras are
Yes.
intimidating, and
Very
like even
much.
you don't expect them to be, and
No.
then it's like I'm cool and I'm comfortable and ready to go, and now the show's gonna start, and now
then,
I don't know what the words are that I'm
What do
wanting
I
to
do with
say
my
to
hands?
you.
Yeah.
Are my hands like
Where do
am I
they
looking
go?
in the right place? You start thinking about all that
Very much.
bullshit.
Absolutely.
And then it gets in your head, and it's I mean, it's so common. And I mean, honestly, I've been doing podcasts since 2016, and I don't remember when it stopped, but it wasn't for like the first 4 years that stuff completely stopped.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it would sneak up out of nowhere, like where I'm good now, I'm comfortable. I
Right.
don't really even need to prep that much. I can carry a conversation. I know the topic, I know the subject matter, and I'm good to go. And then randomly, after doing 6 in a row and no problems, I would get nervous out of nowhere, and it would throw me off. So it's like the stuff, it creeps back in at weird times. And yeah, I've talked with a ton of people that have had this issue. So that's definitely super, super common. Good tricks to overcome it though too. And number one, like you just said, is like you have to publish. Like a lot of times in the beginning, going way back to 2016, I would spend hours editing, like cutting out people's breathing because I didn't like how the breath sounded. I don't want to put this in people's earphones, and just fussing with everything. And like at the end of the day, it just kind of becomes a delay tactic to not publish the thing because you're trying to make it too perfect. So like I started giving myself time limits. Like, all right, you got 1 hour to edit. At the end of 1 hour, you're publishing it. Done deal. There's no options. And then that would force you to like catch yourself. Oh, I'm spending too much time on this throat clearing here. I'm just gonna leave it in there. People clear their throats when they're talking. It'll be fine. And like after a while, you give it a better sense for what you got to get rid of, what you keep in. Stop worrying about everything, and then you can focus more on the the delivery and the content and everything else. So yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah,
The
I
other
gotta
one,
say,
I know
dude,
we talked about this too, was the press record before you're starting, right?
right.
That was
Yep.
one
Yes,
of my
that helped.
earliest
That was
tricks.
big,
Yeah.
dude. That was a huge
That was
help,
awesome
man.
for us.
That one I do a lot with guests. I've probably done, I don't know, I bet you I've probably done 500 interviews, and probably like 200 of them with people who've never done a podcast before. And they're like, most of them are just kind of naturally a little bit uneasy with the process, just like we just talked about, right?
Right.
So what I would do is I would start recording when they weren't paying attention, and we would just be shooting the shit, and we'd be talking about kids and talking about pets or, whatever the small talk was at the beginning. And then I would slowly start easing towards the subject matter, and then I would just go into the interview. And by the time we started, there was no, okay, let's hit the button and go,
Right.
record, watch
It's
the
that red button.
countdown, time to get nervous. Like that stuff, I never gave him an opportunity to do that. So that's another great trick that I've learned over the years. So what if, I don't know, Chapo, have you dealt with any of this stuff? Like when you're recording, do you have any of that jitters in the beginning?
Typically not a ton. In my real life job, I present a lot. I'm very used to being in front of a lot of people. That also comes with my coaching as well. However, when you do an interview, and I've done some of them, I haven't done a ton of interviews simply because of the way in which I have to record these, as I said, with a large family and sports and kids doing things. It's really difficult to schedule in people. But what I would like to say is, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, it's okay to make mistakes. And I think that one really is hard for a lot of people. And I'll illustrate it with something that happened to me. When I went to do my first interview with someone, it was a panda holder who was gracious enough to come onto the show. And I really had no idea what I was doing when it comes to doing an interview. I didn't know that there was Riverside available. I didn't know that there were other ways to do it. And I did an interview with this person. We were talking for an hour. And when I went back and listened to audio, his side was not recorded. And it was only mine. And I was like,
Yeah.
And I messaged him back and I was like, look, I'm really sorry. That's really hard to do, by the way, to say I screwed up and it didn't record. Would you join me again? I did it again. Guess what happened the second time? It didn't record.
Oh man.
And I just went back to him and said, I'm learning this.
That's
Please
rough.
forgive me. And Pavel is his name. He was gracious enough to come on a third time before I actually got it right.
Yeah,
That
right,
could
time.
have chased people away if you're starting. Don't let something like that drive you away. You might have someone that is not kind to you about it. Find somebody who is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Fair enough. I think that's great advice right there. Like if you're trying to do something new and someone's an a-hole to you about it, then just don't do it with them.
Right.
Because there's good people out there too. Go find them.
Yeah, and
I like
thankfully
that.
someone was willing to be gracious enough and do 3 interviews with me just for one show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive. Good on them for that. So yeah, I think it's a great takeaway though, is be okay with making mistakes. I'd go one further and say expect to make mistakes,
for
right?
sure.
Because it's something new.
for sure.
You're gonna mess it up, and you know you want to put out something that's decent, but it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It has to exist, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So do put some care into it. Do try to do a good job, but be accepting when the sound quality is bad, or you got a background noise, or there's whatever chatter in the background that you didn't expect and you can't get rid of. Like, just roll with it and accept it and go on. So let's talk a little bit about tools in terms of this too, like the actual technical aspects of this. Chapo, what do you use to record?
Typically, what I use to record is Descript, and that is a software that you can download on Windows PC or a Mac. I think the software is great. It's easy to use. Now, they have the classic mode that we've talked about before and the regular mode, and there's a little bit of trickiness there. But I love the software because it'll do the transcript for you. They even have voiceovers. And when I say voiceovers, you send in maybe a recording that you've done, 15, 20. You could use an episode that you've done. You upload that, and they will create an AI voice of you. They will clone your voice. And then if you have any areas in your own audio that maybe you said the wrong thing or you didn't like the way you said it, you can actually go in and just type it in and it tag your name to it, and it will give an AI voice. It doesn't sound perfect because AI is not quite there yet, but that's a great feature. I think it's really easy to use, but I've also used Adobe Audition that I talked about in the beginning. Don't use that anymore. But if I'm in a pinch and I need to record and I may not have Descript on a computer that is near me, I have used the Adobe AI podcast. I think it's called Adobe AI. Maybe it's just Adobe Podcast. Okay. And that's great too. It'll do a transcript, but it doesn't have that AI voice feature. And then you just export into whatever. I export to Wave. I don't know what everybody else does, but that's typically what I export to. And then,
gotcha. You do all your editing then, right, in Descript too, I imagine, right? Yeah, because that's the other thing that's great about it is you put your recording in there, or you do your recording in there, right? We're recording here in Riverside.fm. Then I'll move it into Descript. It will transcribe the whole thing. So I'll be looking at, basically when I'm listening to it to edit, I'm reading the words. And when I want to cut stuff out, I'm actually editing the words, the text.
Yeah.
And that's what cuts out the audio.
Great,
it's amazing.
and
It's got like, every time I open it, it's got an update. I swear, like literally like 3 times a week, I think I get updates on it. They're always fixing it. They're always making it better. And honestly, like the transcription aspect of it has gotten so good. It's crazy. Editing, like it's a fantastic tool. Honestly, my favorite tool for podcasting.
Have you tried the beta eye movement feature?
I have not. What's that?
That's great. So if you're gonna do video, you can record the video. It will do AI. It tracks your eyes, so you'd actually have to look. You don't have to look at the camera. So you could put up
Oh yeah, it
on the
makes it
screen,
look like you're looking at the
you
camera
could
all
put
the
on
time.
the screen your transcript, and you could literally read right off of it, and it looks like you are looking directly in the camera. I'll
I
try it
heard
out.
about that. I haven't played with it yet.
Works perfect.
That's what I
Yeah,
need.
cool stuff, man. No,
That's
it's a great tool. And this, like I said, we're recording right now, Riverside.fm, which I also love. I had used a bunch of different tools over the years before this, and I started using this like when they're in beta, and it's been almost flawless, with the exception of like 2 times, one of which includes Wes and Cieri. When we recorded, we couldn't do it in Riverside. But other than that, like, there's no setup to it. My guests come on, they don't have to do anything. It just works every single time.
Yeah.
I actually, like, speaking of like losing recordings or not having the other side, I used to always hook up a Zoom recorder that captured a backup of what I was doing, and then I would listen. My headphones were always hooked up to the Zoom, so I knew I was hearing what was being recorded on the standalone digital recorder, so I knew I was good. So I always had that backup. Had to use it once, which was awesome when I had it. But Riverside's been so good. Honestly, I've gotten lazy. I don't even took the backup on it anymore. But I haven't lost any to date on here. Hopefully today will be the first. So how about you guys? What do you guys use to record? Remora, I'll kick it to you, Cieri, since you're the producer of the group,
Tech
I
guy.
believe.
Well, and Wes is more, he's more like my friend Patrick, where he just, I don't know what it is, man. They just, I went and took computer courses and all that stuff, but sometimes because I think it's the artist in me, I use more of my artistic brain first. I'm always thinking
Mhm.
about the creative. What does it look like? What does it sound like? Like, what does it feel like when you're watching it? So to me, I'm more on that side, but I've had to wear the other hat, being a musician. I've had to record my own songs. I had to learn how to record my own songs because I didn't have big money to go in the studio, So over the years, I studied the recording, taught myself how to use DAWs. So in the beginning, I knew that we needed to record both of us locally. So I said, well, how the hell are we going to do this? Because we didn't know about Riverside yet. And by the way, I love Riverside. The more we're using it now, the more I'm loving it. It's very simple. It's friendly. I love that they upload constantly on
As you go.
local. They record locally. That's a
Yep.
beautiful thing. So that's a very, very cool software we're using. How much does this cost per month, this Riverside? Just curious. I know you got to have a monthly.
I want to
right?
say there's the $10 a month plan. I think it's between like 10 and 30, depending on
See,
what
that's not even
options
that
you
bad for
select.
what
Not
it
bad, dude.
is.
That's
No, it's a great value
For sure.
for how well it works. And honestly, I don't even use all the features. We could be broadcasting live right now simultaneously to Twitter/X, LinkedIn, YouTube. Like, you can
And we should do
record
that
live
one
here
time.
and shoot it all out everywhere all
We
at
should
once.
do that again when you're ready to
Um,
host it again, man. We should do
Yeah,
it.
no, I would.
to Twitter.
We can give that a whirl sometime for sure. But there's all kinds of stuff built into here that you can do, and then like if you're doing those lives, you can pull in like video clips and things like that are all kind of framed up. It's like a whole little studio for you. It's really pretty fantastic.
Yeah, we use, for the most part, we use locally. We both have an audio interface. We both have our microphones run. So we have our headphones on. And with me and Wes, him being in South Carolina, I'm in Florida. So for that, there's always latency. There's always that you got to worry about. So we were sitting there thinking, we're like, how are we going to do this? We want the good audio. We want the good video. And then it hit me. I was like, you can't get it without doing it on your own local. That's the best way. You
Yep.
have a camera in front of you. You have your laptop and your microphone in front of you, recording just you. And on Wes's end, he has the same thing. So Wes is looking at his laptop and his microphones, right? So what we do is we have the phones, and how we do it is we take our phone and plug our headphones into the phone, and we talk to each other through the headphones on the telephone, like a
Okay.
normal phone conversation.
Yep.
But we just go boop and we hit
You're
record.
also capturing it.
Yeah, we just record our camera app.
Nice.
We use literally the free software
Built-in,
camera
yeah.
app, and from there,
Simple.
dude, it's MP4s, and then I think we use something called Video Pad Editor. It was like $90 for the year, and that lines up because it's never perfect. We use a thing called timeanddate.com, where we're both. And again, this is me just
About a
figuring out
second.
how to do this. I don't know if this is the
Yeah.
right way. This is the way we do it. So we go to timeanddate.com. We're both looking at the second countdown when it hits 8 o'clock, and we both he's at his house, I'm at my house, and we go boom, and we record at 8
Oh,
o'clock.
gotcha.
So
You
it
don't have any,
lines up
like, lag or-
close.
Yeah.
But even there, it's not good enough because you try to open it into OBS and get that going for our intro and all that stuff, and it's off slightly. Like
Yep.
we had that problem in the beginning.
so
Chapo
aggravating
tried
when
to
that
help
happens, too.
us with that in the beginning. That was a huge problem until we bought the digital pad editor, and I just go boop boop, line up the WAV files, and then I export those from that software. I put them back into OBS. That has
Yep.
our intro and everything, and then I kind of edit from there and edit the screen and video and put in stuff later. So we record first, and then I go back. That's why if you ever watch Remora, you might notice that sometimes we'll be talking about Bitcoin prices 29, but when you watch the video, it said 29.7 or 20, 31.2, because Bitcoin just said, no, I'm going to move on you in 30 minutes. So
Mhm.
we've had that to deal with, but like you said, it's more about the art. It's not about being perfect. So we
Yep.
we want to.
It all sounds easy though. How you just explained it, it sounds easy.
Well,
And,
it's easy now
Cieri,
because
how
you
long did
figured it
take
all
us
out, right?
It did take a while
Right,
to
we
get
got
it.
we got away, but it took us a while to figure that out, man. It wasn't easy. That right, until maybe our 10th episode.
Mm-hmm.
It took us a long time, man, to figure that out. Now we have it down and we jump on, we record, and then an hour later, Cieri's got it upload.
Yeah, right on. But you got to get through that first wave of figuring it out. There's no way around it. And you can find good resources and you can find good people to help you out, but you got to do it.
Right.
Right. And until you do it and get comfortable doing it and you find your way to do it and your tool set, it's going to be a little bit uneasy. But once you get it, now you got it. All that stuff's out of the way. You have a flow. And now you can work on, refining the content, for me, getting better at interviewing, for you guys getting better at TA, for Chapo getting better at ripping off today's topic, whatever the case is, whatever you're trying to refine. So I think that's
Am I
key.
saying it wrong? Am I saying El Chapo and it's Chapo?
It's Chapo.
It's Chapo.
I keep switching between the
okay.
two
All right.
because I couldn't decide
didn't-
which one was right.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It's not really my name, so it doesn't matter.
Right,
That's
right.
Let me screwing up your nickname, man. Yeah, no. So I think the big takeaway there is that dive in, expect to have some problems, try out some tools, but be forgiving, and just know that it gets easier over time once you figure all the things out and you get it down.
Sure.
And yeah, there's a million different tools, but you guys, I love your setup because a lot of the stuff you guys are using are free things that people already have. Like,
Absolutely.
everyone's got a phone.
Basic.
Everyone's got a
Everything-
computer with that they can record on with the built-in apps. You did spend $90 on that one thing
For the year,
but-
though. That was for
yeah,
a
for the
full
year.
That's
And
pretty good.
OBS is free software
OBS
as well
is free.
too, right?
Free.
That's
Yep.
all open
Free
source.
software.
Yep. So you got out of everything you just described there, you spent $90 for the year. That's pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
You know,
to do the
script-
Remora. Yep.
Yeah, the script tool, that's like a monthly thing. I want to say that's in that like $10 to $30 a month
Yeah, I think
range.
it's 20.
Riverside is. I'm trying to think. I think those are really like from a podcast standpoint, other than hosting. That's really all I'm paying for. So what do you guys use it for hosting? Back to Chapo.
Right now I use Buzzsprout. That's
Okay.
the first thing I found. There could be 100 different ones that are way better, but I started there and I just kept with it because it was easy. I think my plan is probably about $20 a month, and then they give you so many hours for that month. I've never hit those hours, and I record every day, and my shows are usually 15 to 20-ish minutes, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I
Well,
use
that's a lot of
Buzzsprout.
content for the month though. So that's so $20 probably would work for almost anybody that's getting started. And how about you guys? Where you're hosting?
Well, we were going to actually ask if we could use your Riverside account. No.
Well,
We-
River Host though. What
Right,
what are
no.
you using to actually distribute?
See, now you're getting a little bit out of my comfort zone there.
I
As
think-
far as hosting, we like when we had
Dude.
Lambo on.
Oh,
for
you
the
guys are on
interview-
YouTube.
Yeah.
Right, we're doing
I'm-
everything.
Too.
Yeah,
MP4
sorry.
and they go
Totally,
onto YouTube.
I'm not thinking about this right. So Chapo and I are doing an audio podcast, and are you going only to Spotify, Chapo?
We would love to listen. That's something that I was looking at the other day, and I'm like, man, why are we not like? We should totally be taking these audio tracks of our stuff.
Extract
and
the audio.
You
and
can
yeah,
put
and
the MP4s up
Yeah,
on
we
both
should totally be doing
Spotify,
that.
Apple. All of them will host the actual MP4s for you, and then right in the native players, like in the Apple phone player, it'll play the video. I haven't experimented
Oh, I
with
didn't
it
know.
much, but that was years ago that they added that capability. And I know Spotify has it as well.
Now,
So,
do they
that's-
they charge you to put content out on there, right? Or how's that
The
work?
Apple does not, Spotify does not. The actual distribution endpoints do not charge. Who charges?
know
So I
that.
use Libsyn that basically hosts my RSS feed, and that's what Buzzsprout would be doing for Chapo too. So I take, once I'm all done, and I pull the file out of Descript, I upload it to Libsyn. Liberated Syndication is what it's short for, and Libsyn basically pushes it out to everybody for me. And built right in the platform, I go in there and I say I would like it to go to Apple and YouTube, and well,
That's
I don't
awesome.
do YouTube, Apple, and you basically check them all off. There's gonna be 25 of them in there. Spotify's one of them, and then behind the scenes they do whatever magic they got to do to get those things published up there. And then each of those distribution sites has like a different review process. And once it's done, though, I publish the Libsyn, and then it publishes out on the RSS feed. My RSS feed's tied up to all those other places, and a few minutes later, it's just getting beamed all over the world onto devices and laptops and whatever else.
That's
wherever
awesome, man.
People are getting it from. So it's a pretty slick setup. And with Libsyn, I actually have a bit more of an advanced account with them. I can do like insertions into there. So like I can insert an ad into all of my episodes for the next 30 days and then take it out. So I got some additional tools like that as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really cool, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of similar to like the multi streaming. Like if you wanted to go live, like there's apps. And the way my friend described it to me, he's audio video guy. He's a freaking genius with all this stuff. As he said, well, you have to have a host to get the video. Like in my head, I'm just thinking you just push a button on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go live. And to an extent, yeah, it works like that. But the video codecs and all the techie stuff, you still have to have someone that's putting it out there. And I may be confusing it with what you're talking about with Libsyn, but
It's not exactly the same thing, but it's the same concept. And I think the two examples that we've talked about, one would be if we decided to go on to Riverside.fm and do this live. There's a little bit of pre-setup you got to do to create the linkages wherever you want to send it. Like if you want to send it to Twitter and you want to send it to YouTube, there's a little bit of linkage you do ahead of time, but then you say go live, and it behind the scenes takes care of all of that stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So Riverside will do that here. It's also going to capture that video for us in audio, like it's recording it as we go. So it's live, and then when we're done, the live streams obviously end, and then this thing would spit out a recording to me. I could then take that recording and go and upload it to Libsyn, and then Libsyn will push it further out to Apple and Spotify and everywhere else. And then basically that, when somebody opens up their phone and says, give me my most recent things, it's going to pull down this episode and now they can watch it. So like it happens in both places. It's slightly different, but like that same thing does have to happen in both places.
yeah, that's awesome, man. We're going to have to look into that, Wes. We were talking about that too.
I'm pretty sure Buzzsprout does too, man. I
Yeah.
think they do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of good tools out there.
I think Buzzsprout,
For sure.
my podcasts are on Spotify, Pandora, Deezer, Pocket Cast. I don't think I ever went through with the Apple one though. I have to check.
Mhm.
I have no idea. I haven't looked at it in forever.
Yeah. Well, once you get it set up, you just go and you
Yeah.
don't even think about the stuff anymore. See,
Yeah.
that's proof of the proof's in the pudding right there. So I want to start heading towards a wrap up here, but I think the important thing is for the listeners so far is, takeaway is like, obviously none of us knew what the hell we were doing when we started. A lot of
Still
Googling,
don't.
a lot of asking for help, right? And you figure it out along the way. Try to make good content, but be flexible with yourself and forgiving of yourself, and know that people don't care as much as you do, right? So
Right.
get it done, get it out there. The most important thing is the content has to exist. Nothing can happen unless the content exists. So let it exist and then just keep refining, right? Like we just talked about all this kind of complex tool stuff. We don't need to do any of that, right? Like you guys started with a very basic setup and you're still rolling with that. You've refined it and added to it along the way. But out of the gates, you're recording local and mashing files together and jamming onto YouTube, right? Like anybody could do that with what they have
That's it,
right now.
man.
So you
That's
don't
it.
have to
If
spend $1
you have
million
a
to
phone,
get started.
a laptop, and your laptop comes with the camera. Literally, it's called Camera app, is what we use, and it's free with every laptop anyway. So the price of a cell phone, a laptop, and I told Wes that in the beginning too. I said, look, the budget's going to be tight when we do this thing. So how can we get the most juice for the least amount of cost? And, you know, it comes down to using Google. Use YouTube, use Google.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
you don't have to use the stuff we're all using. Get on Google, say top 10. What is the best thing to podcast? What is the easiest thing? And that's what I did. And then I saw, you know, like Chico, I'm a huge fan, Chico Army. And, you know, I used to watch him do his live stream, and I would see it flash on the screen, and I'm like, what the heck is that? He's showing his program that he's using to stream with, because it does the infinite window thing where you're like, right? So I was like, what the hell is that? And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, okay, he's using OBS. So I started getting on OBS. I'm like, this is what these guys are doing. So find someone you like, copy what they do. You know, if you're not good with the technical stuff, record locally. And if you're doing it like me and Wes, it's going to be a little more tricky if you don't have the recording background. Like, if I didn't have the audio program, if I didn't have Cubase, in the beginning, I was using Cubase just to separate our audio. Then I was doing video. Then I was going to OBS. Then I was going to freaking YouTube. Like, I cut all that out, and I said, screw it. Use the camera app, hook the mics up, just hit record, right? So me and Wes could more focus on, because I want to focus on our content more too. I don't want to be so over engulfed in the techie stuff that me and Wes lose track of entertaining people. And I also wanted to give you guys credit too, by the way. You guys are going it alone. Like, I don't think I would have the gusto and the push to be able to, even once a week, forget once a day. It's good having that. In a way, me and Wes are cheating. We're taking easy street a little bit, because look, if there's a week when I'm not feeling so good, he's like, what the hell are you talking? I don't care if you're not feeling good, bro. It's Thursday, right?
Yeah.
You know, and likewise,
like a gym buddy.
It is. It pushes you, and it's like, oh, you know, but also, you know, you get a break. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not talking the whole episode. Wes isn't talking the whole episode. I tend to talk a little too much. I know that, and everyone tells me that. But the good thing is, when having two people, if you feel like you're getting exhausted and you're doing it on your own, maybe try to go the route like me and Wes did. Maybe try to have, or at least bring guests on. Like, for me, this was fun. Me and Wes were looking forward to this all week, bro. Because we're like,
same.
oh, man, we're going on someone else's show tonight. Like, it's relaxing for us to do this. It's a break. It's a breather. And we love you guys too. So, you know, I was happy for this, because it's more of a experience for us to get that break. But we're really not taking a break. We're still doing our weekly show.
You still gotta go back and do your show.
That's it. I mean, so, but yeah, I just give hats off to you guys, you know, for doing it on your own too. Keep in mind that it's easier with two people, because you got ideas you can bounce off of each other. You've got content you can bounce off each other. If I have a brain fart and I'm just like, I don't know what, like, then I rely on Wes. You know, I'm like, well, what do you got, man? What do you want to talk about? And sometimes we do that. Sometimes it's Thursday morning. It's Thursday, 5 o'clock. What's the show about? I don't know. What the hell are we going to talk about tonight? Well, what's going on? Me and Wes literally have these conversations sometimes on Thursdays, even though we're tapped into the market. We're tuned into the market. We're watching Bitcoin price just like you guys are every single day, right? We're watching our podcasts every day. So it's not like we're taking a break. It's just sometimes you get, especially in a crab market, you're just sideways forever. It's like, what are you going to talk about that people are going to care about, right? So sometimes you just have to wait till that day and use the creativity, use the artist side of your brain, and just say, well, Sam Bankman-Fried had a charge drop while everyone was talking about aliens. So we rolled with it. That was last week's show. I don't know if you saw the title on it, but that's what it was. And that's how it came up. It came up that day, and that's okay. It's all right to do that. You're supposed to be natural, be yourself, be natural, do the best you can.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the power of the deadline right there, is you guys, if you're holding yourself accountable to having that show on Thursday, once Thursday comes around, you got to pick a topic, right? And Chapo, I'm sure you definitely feel that every day, where it's like, okay, it's go time.
Yeah.
Whatever topic I decide on, I got to go with, right? That deadline makes you do it. So that's powerful.
Yeah. Even there are days where I have no idea, even when I hit record. I just wing it, because that's sometimes you didn't have the inspiration, but I'm going to do the show. So there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I don't know. I assume you've probably done that a few times and then had to get done and be like, damn, that was pretty good.
It does.
Like, it just turned into something great out of nowhere. Yeah. Awesome. So the last thing I want to ask you guys about is what you've gotten out of this process. Stick with you first, Chapo.
Yeah.
You are on day 363-ish right now. By the time this post, we'll be, 2
Yeah.
weeks from now. So you'll be into your next adventure. But what have you gotten out of this? Like, what did you learn? What did you get? What happened as a result of you doing this podcast?
I would say what I got out of this being on this adventure, really, it's surprising to me, was the biggest takeaway was my knowledge increase in crypto.
Mm-hmm.
That was not my intention when I started. But when you have that deadline, like I have to have a show today, and that's what my brain tells me, then you are looking at every possible angle for a show. And for me, it was that knowledge that I feel like I've gained. I say I want to help people, but there hasn't been any communication like, hey, thank you for doing this show. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that going in. I decided early on that I didn't care if anyone listened. I seriously did not care.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the process was, one, a challenge. And what came out of it was hours and hours studying crypto, reading white papers, going down rabbit holes day after day. And then when you come out of it, all of a sudden you're like, gosh, like I really do know probably a lot more than when I started. And that to me has been the biggest takeaway, because I knew I could do it. It wasn't an option. I was going to be unstoppable. So it wasn't a matter of can I do it? It was, I will do it. And what came with it was just a base of knowledge that I'm thankful that I did it for.
Yeah, right on. So turbocharged education, basically, in the space.
Right.
It gave you something really to just force you to keep learning, keep grinding. And, frankly, when you're always on the hunt for the next topic, if you will, the next show idea, it changes the way you look at the world, right? It makes you a bit more perceptive to new things.
Absolutely.
And definitely, I could see that being a big win in terms of driving the education. How about you, Wes? What's happened as a result of 38 episodes of the Crypto Remora?
I think something that I've learned mainly is, it's funny because you meet people every day, like in real life, come face to face with these people, and 9 times out of 10 you say bye, and with really no intention of ever seeing them again or talking to them again, because you have absolutely nothing in common with these people, right? In crypto, you meet complete strangers on Twitter and on Discord, and you have absolutely nothing in common as well, as far as up front. And but because of crypto, you share and you have this instant connection with these people. And next thing you know, you're best friends, and that's been an incredible journey for me. Is just meeting so many new people that you think you wouldn't have a lot in common with, and then come to find out, just that instant connection because of crypto, man. It helps you meet a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Never would I have thought that I would say that I have multiple friends in multiple parts of the world, and because of crypto, I do. And if I walked away today and lost everything, I would still be thankful for the friendships and the relationships that I've made, along the way. And I think that's a very big, that's huge, man, because the people that you associate with are the people that's going to kind of, influence you to make different decisions. And I think the biggest challenge is kind of separating those that are in here for the right reasons and the right intention. And like you guys, we met you guys, and like Cieri said, man, we love you guys to death, man. Y'all are a huge inspiration to the channel, and we just thank you guys for being so pure with us, you know what I mean, and showing us and teaching us the right ways. And I think that's the number one thing that I could say for anybody that is new to this or wanting to start a podcast. You have to associate yourself with the right people. You need to get involved with a lot of like-minded people, man, because that's going to kind of position yourself to trying to do.
Yeah, right on. That's awesome. And it's definitely mutual, man. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the relationship. And, you know, the fact that I know what you've had to do to put out 38 episodes and you know, watching you guys just grind it out every week. I've been super impressed with that. And I said, Cieri's having some technical problems, so I'll jump in. My kind of outcome of podcasting over the years has been kind of the combination of those two things. It is why I started doing it in the crypto space as well. One is like massive education opportunity, right? I do interview shows, so I get to now reach out to pretty much anybody in the space and ask them to spend an hour with me and ask all of the questions that I have. And I'm not usually like, there's no agenda ever like to the episodes that I'm doing other than to extract the learning out of it. And it's for me as much as it's for the listener. So I learn a ton doing this stuff. And then the other one is, it's like networking on steroids, man, to do interviews. Coming into an industry, you know, I've been in this space for like a year. Coming into this industry and starting a podcast gives me the opportunity to make real relationships with people really quickly. And when you do this, I always experience this over the years, and everything else has been in healthcare for me. Doing these interviews, like, it's a whole relationship in a microcosm. You reach out to the person, you tell them why you want to, you know, it's usually like, hey, I find you interesting because of these things, right? So I'm opening this relationship with a compliment. You are interesting. I think this is really cool what you're doing. I want to share this with the audience and learn more about it. Then you have a little bit of preamble to kind of set up the interview. Then you get together and you spend like a nice intimate hour together. Then afterwards, there's a built-in follow-up, right? Like if you think back on the old Seinfeld episode where George Costanza would leave something behind, so he had the built-in follow-up. You have a built-in follow-up because I'm going to create a show, I'm going to produce it, and then I'm going to share it back with you. And like when it's all said and done, you've created something with this person, right? Like you got together and you made something, and then you shared it with the world. And it's like way better than I bumped into somebody at a conference and we had a drink and talked shop for an hour, and now I may or may not ever talk to them again. Like you get this whole relationship in about 3 physical hours. It's really cool. Yeah, and over the years, I've just, you know, I've built amazing friendships from this. I've gotten an absolute crap ton of business from doing this, and I've just learned more than I could ever describe. So that's why, you know, again, when I got into this space and I was like I like how you put it, Chapo, where it's like when I knew crypto had hold of me, I'm like, well, if I'm stuck here, I'm going to do this right. And that's when I decided it was time to launch podcasts and really start, you know, turbocharging the education and the networking. So I'd encourage anybody who has a real passion for this space and really wants to learn and really wants to grow and meet people and everything else, that, you know, I encourage you to think about this. Like, podcasting is a super powerful medium. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's stressful sometimes, but it's good. Like I said, I've been doing it since 2016. I have no plans on doing it. In fact, I'd like to do more of it if I can make the space for it. So that's my story. And unfortunately, Cieri has not made it back. So we're going to roll with Wes's story as the story for the Crypto Remora. You guys have been awesome. What's that?
I said he can add something since he can't counter it. So say whatever you want now.
That's true. Yeah. You want to say anything bad about Cieri? I won't edit it out.
I'm sure he tells it to right to his face.
Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure, man.
No, this has been awesome. Thank you guys so much for your friendship and your camaraderie, and kudos to you guys both for continuing to grind this out. Appreciate what you're all doing for the community, and thank you for just coming to share your stories with the listeners. It has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having us.
All right, to the listeners, we'll see you next time on Ready Layer 2.
Thank you for listening to Ready Layer 2. If you're an Arbitrum builder with a story to share, then hit me up on Twitter at GitSmall, GITSMOL. Learn more at gitsmall.com.